have, for example, a calendar. A calendar is a list that you use to record date and time specific commitments, right? So if you have something that you are committed to doing on a specific date and time, it goes on the calendar list. All right. Another list you have is your project list. We just talked about that. Those are all of the things that you have committed to do, but that cannot be done in one action step. They require multiple action steps, so those are projects, okay? So calendar and projects. All right. The next list that you keep track of is your action list. The action list are the specific steps that you can take to get something done. Now those action lists, some people break them down. So they might break them down. If you read the book, you saw things to do at home, things to do at work, things to do in the office, and so on. That's fine if that helps break it down. I like to break mine down. The next list is the someday maybe list. So that's where you record things that you'd like to do about which you have no specific commitment. The beauty of that is it gets it out of your head and onto paper, so you can trust that you have it somewhere. If you're someone like me who comes up with all these ideas, it's great to be able to write it down and classify it as someday maybe, but also to know that I'm not committed to it. Because otherwise, in your brain, you have these competing thoughts between the things that are someday maybe and the things that you're committed to, and then you don't get anything done, right? The last list is the waiting for list. So if you have an action where the next step is really that you're waiting for information from someone, then the waiting for list is the place to record that. So I am waiting for Eric to get me the such and such report. That would go on my waiting for list. But those are the real short version of GTD. And those simple concepts, if you learned nothing else out of that book and you walked away with those concepts, you'd have some of those core principles that would help you move forward. But anyway, coming back to what we did yesterday, I talked with the group and I said, all right, let's look at some of these areas. So we talked about our purpose and core values in terms of serving the people at COP, helping them improve their situation in a number of ways. And then I asked the audience the question of vision. And I said, if this conference in November were a wild success, what would that look like? If you were to talk to someone, Eric's out of the room, maybe he's back in the United States, and people would say, hey, how did it go? What would wild success look like? And so some of the answers that the group came back to me with yesterday was, okay, as I shared, well, business prospers. They learned some skills that maybe they either knew but weren't applying, or they learned some skills that they were new skills they were able to apply to help their business prosper. Maybe I'll show you some things about communication and delegation that will be helpful to you. And I hope out of all the things I say that maybe a few of those things you can take back and apply. So that would be one measure of wild success. For some, it would be the opportunity to leave their current employment and become entrepreneurs in something and have a little better sense of self-confidence with that. Some would be promotions, more involved, and you see the list here. So what I'd like to ask you before we go on, you have the benefit that the group before you already shared some ideas. Number one, does that resonate with you? And number two, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that list?